Hello and welcome again to another short video from Investing Success. Today is the 1st of February 2023. In today's short little video, I want to take a look at a company called FLNG. Flex trades on the New York Stock Exchange. The ticker symbol is FLNG, and Flex is a shipping company, and it is focused on the transportation of liquefied natural gas, and it is running a fleet of 13 modern LNG tanker vessels. So it's basically moving natural gas in liquefied format from North America to customers in Europe. So why am I looking at an LNG tanker company here and now? Very simple. The Russian conflict in the Ukraine has done some serious damage. And for those of you that have been following developments in the energy sector, you will know that a number of years ago, the Nord Stream pipelines, number 1 and number 2, were laid across the floor of the Baltic Sea. And these pipelines ran from Russia into northern Germany, and then from there connected into a distribution network of pipelines feeding natural gas to many parts of Europe. Unfortunately, the Nord Stream pipelines got blown up about a month ago. We're not sure who did it. Was it Russia? Was it some other foreign power? We're not sure, but nonetheless, the pipelines are basically filled with water laying on the bottom of the ocean, holes in them from the explosion. And when a pipeline is blown up underneath a body of salt water, it very quickly corrodes the interior of the pipeline, and bringing the Nord Stream pipelines back on stream, you're talking a lot of money and a pretty major engineering effort. So I think it's fair to say that the Nord Stream pipelines are done, finished, gone. They're not going to return. How does Europe now get the bulk of its natural gas? Well, the answer is LNG tankers, companies like Flex LNG. In terms of financial metrics, Flex LNG has a PE ratio of 10.6 times. Other LNG tanker companies have looked at have PE ratios in the range of 8 to 16 times. So Flex is, right in the middle of the PE ratios of some of its peers. The most recent quarterly results show an operating profit margin of 59%. That's pretty healthy. You compare that to the overall operating margin for the entirety of the S&P 500. There is money to be made in moving a critical, strategic, necessary commodity from point A to point B. People in need of that commodity, natural gas, will pay for it. I mean, Europe really had no choice. It was either bring in LNG and quickly establish a way to offload it and feed it into the pipeline system in Europe, or freeze. So Flex is well positioned then to be a carrier of the stuff going forward, not only to Europe, but to other destinations. Now, in terms of price performance, you can see that the price over the past couple of years has basically moved from the lower left to the upper right. I'm not the only one to have figured out that LNG companies are making money. I've overlaid this chart with a dashed line, and that is the 200-day moving average. You can see that for the latter part of 2021 and the entirety of 2022, Flex was above the 200-day moving average, so the major trend was bullish. And what happened recently was the weather patterns in Europe are fairly warm. They're having a milder than anticipated winter. They are basically fully stocked with natural gas right now. That's why the price of Flex has had a little pullback. We're hovering right around the 200-day moving average. And I think going forward, the prospects for Flex are very good. And so this might be an opportune time to get in to shares of Flex. And if you look at some of the previous peaks, I mean, $38, if you get in here, yeah, there's definitely a trading profit to be made. I've also overlaid this chart with this green line, which is sloping up, and that is the intermediate trending line. And you can see that it joins the low points that Flex has made along the way since early 2022. Price action is now below the intermediate trend line, but it wouldn't take much to get back above it. So here and now we can say that the intermediate trend on Flex is bearish, but subject to change rather quickly. The major trend is just ever so close to turning back into the bullish part of the chart. Now, in terms of astrology, Flex LNG started trading on the New York Stock Exchange 17th of June 2019, and here is the horoscope chart. A couple things grab my attention. There is a triangle formation in the horoscope, and I always look for these unique geometric formations if they exist. And this one is made up of a group of celestial bodies, Mars, Mercury, and Node. That's forming one apex of the triangle. Another apex is Neptune, and I find it curiously interesting that Neptune in mythology is pertaining to the ocean, to the sea, and here we have an LNG tanker company that moves liquefied natural gas across the ocean. So Neptune makes up the other apex of the triangle, and the third apex is Pluto and Saturn. So what I'm going to be looking for then going forward is transiting planets that are passing these groups of planets, transiting planets that are moving past natal sun, transiting planets that are moving past the natal ascendant at 16 of Leo. And here we are. If I go back to late 2021, and if I start looking at some of the price swing highs and lows that Flex has recorded, what do we see? Moon passing natal Mars, moon passing natal Mercury. That's the collection of planets that I referred to on the horoscope that made up one apex of the triangle. And you can see that when these transits are recorded, there usually is quite a stiff reaction on price. Early 2022, we had Mars passing the natal Jupiter point, and as that occurred, price came down, giving you a fairly good entry point. Moon passing natal ascendant in April of 2022 made for a swing peak and a pullback and an entry point. Moon passing natal ascendant in June of 22, again, a decline, an entry point for the trader. Moon passing natal Venus and natal ascendant in August, September of 22, and again, price came back down, and it actually landed right at the intermediate trending line, giving you another entry opportunity. Why did it stop there? Well, Mars was passing the natal sun right around that time, and that afforded some support to the stock, and it started to go up again. Late 22, we had Venus passing natal Jupiter and Mercury passing natal Jupiter. And most recently, in January of 23, we had Moon passing natal Sun. We had Mars passing natal Venus. And so I have to conclude that price action on Flex is very attuned, very sensitive to these cosmic developments related to Moon passing these key points on the natal horoscope, and related to Mars and Venus as well, passing some key points. So going forward, what have we got? February 1st, which is today, Moon is passing natal Sun. At the end of or early part of next week, we've got Moon passing the natal Ascendant, Mars passing natal Venus. We have another one on the 15th of February, 7th of March, the Sun goes by natal Neptune. 22nd of March, the Ascendant passes that grouping of 3 planets that make up the apex of the triangle. 30th of March, we've got Moon. So all you have to do is just look forward relative to the natal horoscope and pick off dates when these critical transits occur. Those are dates you are very likely to get a turning point on the stock. And as I say, today, Moon is passing natal Sun, and in a few days' time, it will be making another transit. I am going to be watching very carefully to see if the price action can get above the 200-day moving average. If it can, I think I might be a buyer of Flex LNG. The other thing I tend to look at, and not every stock will align to this, but it is the declination of Moon. When we look up into the sky, how high is the Moon relative to the horizon? That generally is how I look at declination. Somehow, some way, it does affect our emotion, our propensity to buy or to sell. Not every stock will display a correlation to declination of Moon, but I think Flex does. And it doesn't take much to look at this chart. And here's August of 2022. Declination of Moon was at its maximum, and Flex was making a high point. Flex was making a low point in October, again very close to that declination of Moon at its max, and so on and so forth. So declination of Moon is definitely one that I watch, in addition to Moon and other planets passing critical points in the horoscope. In terms of symmetry, in terms of harmony with nature, if we take a look at the chart, I've overlaid some key points here. I've called them A, B, C, D, and E. If I look at the move from August through to October, as price came from B down to C, how much was that? Well, that was a Fibonacci 61.8% retracement of the move up from A to B. So here's another stock that's trading in harmony with Fibonacci, science and nature. I like that. The down move from D to E, it was 78.6% of the up move from C to D, but it was a very tight 78.6. It actually spilled over just a little bit, but it got control of itself and it recovered. So from here, where do we go? Well, I'm going to be looking for, if I do get into this thing, Fibonacci 38% retracement of the down move, D through E. That would take me to 3260 and almost a test of this prior swing high. A 61.8% retracement will take me up a little bit higher. So those are two logical targets if this thing wants to continue going, which I think it does. And then lastly, I always take a look at the technical chart indicators. So now, as I wait for this thing to decide, is it going to get above the 200-day and continue going? I have to point a finger at the slow stochastic. I would like to see the slow stochastic give me a definite buy signal. I would like to see it approach that upper boundary line. The same with the MACD. I would like to see the green and the blue lines actually spread apart to give me a definitive crossover and a definitive hint signal that the trend is turning up. So I'll be watching that. And in terms of the swing trade methodology that W.D. Gann was famous for using. The prior swing high is around 32.50. So I would need to see the price get above the 200-day moving average, ideally above that swing high. And hopefully at that point, I've got the slow stochastic and the MACD telling me that the trend has changed. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. So to sum up, get yourself an ephemeris table. If you don't have one, you can find all of this data online. And what you're looking for then is primarily Moon passing a lot of the key natal points in the 2019 Flex LNG first trade horoscope. You're watching for these Gann swing points, and hopefully they align to astrology. And you're also watching then for advances and declines that unfold in harmony with Fibonacci ratios, science and nature, and all of this, of course, in the context then of technical chart indicators that are pointing to definite trend changes. And so with that, you should be able to navigate the waters of LNG shipping in the context of Flex LNG. So to wrap it up, don't forget that the Financial Astrology 2023 Almanac is now available. Thanks to what my publisher has done, she has managed to get it on the radar screen of a US company called Ingram. And Ingram has a connection then in Australia, the US, Canada, and the UK to major booksellers. So walk into, for example, Blackwell's Books in the UK, tell them you want the Financial Astrology 2023 Almanac. They'll get it for you in a matter of days, courtesy of Ingram in the US. And in the 2023 Almanac, again, as I have in prior almanacs, I go to great lengths, not so much to predict the markets on a day-by-day basis, but to offer you insight and education into financial astrology. My goal in doing all of this is basically to help people recognize a different tool, a different technique, a different way of looking at the financial markets. And so with that, have yourselves a great day. Thank you very much for watching, and keep your eye on Flex LNG.